Good day, geographers, and welcome to your second video based on your second assessment, which was based all around settlement. So here is your feedback, so make sure that you've got those self-assessment sheets at the ready. Remember, you can pause, stop, rewind and re-look at this video anytime you like, and it could also be quite useful for your revision. Okay, right, so first question up that we're thinking about was a 5-mark question, and the question asked you about the impacts of urban sprawl on MEDCs. Okay, now one of the skills that I keep telling you to do is to underline and box the command words. Not many people did this because you didn't talk about MEDCs. Okay, so below are some of the case studies that we've looked at. We looked at Atlanta, or Sprawlanta for urban sprawl. We looked at Manila, we've looked at Rio, and we've looked at Sao Paulo. Okay, Manila, Rio, Sao Paulo, all LEDCs. Atlanta, United States of America, MEDC. If you didn't talk about Atlanta, you couldn't pick up any marks. Okay, now remember, for 5-mark questions, okay, you can get up to 4 marks for 4 points, and then you get that extra 5th mark for the development, and that means that you need to make sure that you can use connectives. So below I've got a little example for you. So it says, in Atlanta, the amount of green land and habitats destroyed is huge. That's enough to pick you up a mark. Habitats being destroyed. Large amounts of concrete is used, which is an impermeable surface. Therefore, so that's the connective that gets us the mark for the development. There is an increased risk of runoff and flooding. Okay, you all knew that because we all looked at that as a case study and as an example. Okay. Right, the next question was a 4-mark question. Again, not many people read the question properly. It said, describe the impacts of urbanisation on the natural environment. Lots of you are writing things down like higher populations means that diseases spread. That's not an impact on the environment, that's a social impact. So if you wrote about things like that, you couldn't pick up marks. Remember, 4-mark questions are easy. You just need 4 points in order to pick up the 4 marks. So there are 4 examples of things that you could have written. Loss of habitats, 1 mark. Deforestation, 1 mark. Pollution of water and rivers, 1 mark. Animals become extinct, 1 mark. Okay, nice and easy. Please try and be a bit more sophisticated in terms of the language that you use. Don't say trees will have to be cut down. Use the proper terms. Deforestation. Okay, that's going to be critical to making sure that you show off to the examiner everything that you know. Okay, the next one was another 5-mark question. Okay, now the same principle applies. Up to 4 marks for single points and then 1 mark for your development. So the question was, explain why many newly arrived migrants into LEDC cities end up living in squatter settlements. Remember, squatter settlements are your slums, your favelas and all those other things that we've talked about within our case studies. Okay, 4 points that you could have had. No jobs available, so therefore they end up in slums. You've got informal work, okay, that's always available in slums, not in the city centre. They may have already had families that lived in the slums, so they could have gone to live with them. And obviously they are building homes wherever space is available, and usually this is the slum. Remember, you get a mark for that development, so I've put on there, no jobs, therefore there's not enough money to be able to afford a proper settlement or a proper location in which to live. Okay, the next question is your big 7-marker. Okay, now this 7-marker simply said in LEDCs explain what has been done in order to improve squatter settlements. Now your case study that we used for this was Sao Paulo, and we looked at self-help schemes. If you didn't talk about self-help schemes, you're probably not going to pick yourself up many marks. Now remember, you've got 3 levels on these 7-mark questions. Level 1 is your simple statements that you would make with your 4-mark questions. Level 2 is using your connectives. Therefore, this means that you might identify with your 5-mark questions. And in order to get top marks, you need to show the examiner that you know case studies inside out and back to front. And level 3 is all about making sure you include that specific information. Many of you were not specific enough about the self-help schemes in Sao Paulo. And that's where your revision really comes into its own in order to make sure that you can answer those questions properly. You need to make sure that you are using key words, okay? Talk about words like periferia or turning the favela into a periferia. Show off what you know. You know an awful lot, okay? You need to showcase that to the examiner. Okay, the final question then was a nice and simple 3-mark question. Now, some of you fell down a little bit on this because it said the advantages of locating a shopping centre out of town, but the advantages that the examiner was looking for was the advantages for the retailer. So if you wrote things like you can shop undercover and not get wet, obviously that's an advantage for the consumer, so that wouldn't be able to pick you up any marks. So 4 examples of things that you could have put: easy access or good transport links, that would have got you a mark. More space to be able to build. Greenfield land is much, much cheaper. There's room to expand, okay? And if you'd have got 3 of those, you would have picked up those 3 marks. Okay, finally then, that brings me to the all-important grade boundaries, okay? And they were as follows. For an A star, you needed 18, 16 for an A, 14 for a B, 12 for a C, 10 for a D, 8 for an E, 6 for an F, 5 for an E, and unfortunately, everything that was less than that was a U, okay? So if you haven't done so already, rewind this video and start completing your self-assessment sheets. Have a good Christmas.